Okay. So always keep the specific topic in your mind, okay? And also, when you look for the resources, keep the authenticity of the, you know, resources in mind. Sometimes we might have to drop many resources just because they might not be published at a good place. And then relevance, which in fact was my first point just now today. Relevance. Sometimes just the title of the work is, uh, it appears to be so similar that we believe it should be the same thing as we are working on. Okay. But if we read the abstract of the work, we realize that the focus of this work is so different. Okay. So I would say that you should include the thesis and dissertation by other writers only if you do not find other published works. Okay. Thesis and dissertation are actually not published. They are not considered to be published works. They are not publications, right? They are students' work which has not yet passed through any uh, any review process. Okay, so you should include them only if you do not find any published work. So that is one way for you to reduce the works. But still, it is possible. I asked you for 5 resources. It's possible for you to come across more than that. Okay, is very normal, right? So then maybe you can use your own discretion to decide which you wish to keep and which you wish to drop. Sometimes you come across lot many reviews on a work. Okay, so the title seems to be very catchy and you immediately include that. But when you look at the resource itself, you see that it is just a review of that work published somewhere. Okay, so you should use a review only if you do not find sufficient full-length published works. Otherwise, you can drop the reviews. Okay. So, anyways, I want I just want you to be sure for yourself that at this stage of your course, you have the resources, at least 5 secondary resources ready with you, that you will be reading in order to write your literature review. Okay. Uh,
Sir, excuse
yeah.
me. I had a question. I chose archival method as my research method, so I have to cite newspaper articles. Would five
Okay.
be enough?
No. So each one of you has have a method, right? Now, depending upon the method that you all are using, there is an additional secondary resource for each one of you. So basically, when you write your final bibliography, this one is called working bibliography. Okay. When you write your final bibliography or when you write the list of works cited after you have done your paper, you will include over there both the primary and secondary resources as well as your uh, resources that you used in order to apply a certain research method. So, in case of archival research, please note that in the case of archival research, the archive itself, along with your literary text, archive itself becomes your primary resource. Okay, so Therefore, you do not have as such any, you do not consider your archive as your secondary resource because it is the archive itself that you are analyzing along with another primary literary text. However, you need to have uh, the secondary resources, which are in fact the research on the similar topic conducted by other people. So I hope you understand the difference between uh, the archive. The archive is not research. The archive that you come across or that you compile or that you access or that you study, the archive itself is not a research article. Therefore, it is not your secondary resource. Rather, it is your primary resource because you want to subject the archive to analysis. You want to analyze that in comparison or contrast with the literary text. Okay, so parts of the archive that you choose for yourself, they become the primary text. The secondary texts or resources will be the research articles written by other people either on that archive or on that literary text on which you are writing your paper. Okay, but there is third thing, and that is a requirement of the method, or that is in other in more simple words, that is a requirement of your theoretical framework. Okay, so most of you will have a theoretical framework. In order to make your analysis possible, you might like to include an article or a book chapter or a brief reading which informs the theoretical framework of your paper. Okay, now in the working bibliography you don't have to have that, but in the final bibliography you will mention the reading that informed your theoretical framework. So for example, if you are doing feminist analysis of a text, uh, nobody should assume that you know about feminism without reading about it. Okay, but at the same time, for this course, do not spend too much time on just reading about theoretical framework. Okay, so I would say just one chapter or one article uh, on theoretical framework would just be enough. Okay, so include that. So keep that in your mind, that that also is one of the readings that you will have to do. Okay, even if you are not including it in working bibliography. Okay, so the newspaper articles are not secondary resources. Okay, they are your primary text. In the final bibliography, you will mention all the newspaper articles which you will be actually analyzing inside the article. You will cite them. Okay, but you will include them in the bibliography as primary text, not as secondary text. All
Assalamualaikum,
right.
sir.
So, walaikum salam. Do you have
सर
a
मेरा
question?
क्वेश्चन है. यस
Yeah.
सर. सर
दीजिए.
मैं जिस तरह सोनेट 18 पे जो है वो टेक्सचुअल एनालिसिस कर रहा हूँ.
किस पे?
सोनेट 18 सर, ये विलियम शेक्सपियर
Sonnet.
के हैं.
Okay.
यस सर. तो सर उसका जो एब्स्ट्रैक्ट है और आउटलाइन है वो मैंने कोई भी आर्टिकल नहीं पढ़ा, बस वो पोएम पढ़ के तो किया है. तो उसके लिए बिब्लियोग्राफी फिर.
Hmm. So, how will you make this bibliography? Is that what you're asking?
यस सर.
So, so for the abstract, it is fine if you already read the sonnet. But in order to write your paper on that sonnet, uh, you you need the bibliography. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
yeah, so you have a title of your paper, okay? So the
Yes,
kind of
sir.
analysis that you are going to do of that particular sonnet, you will find this working bibliography, right? The working bibliography of the secondary resources. You will find out the resources, and you will mention those resources in the working bibliography. So working bibliography is not list of the books that you read. That is the list of resources you plan to read to write your paper. Yes, Abira.
So in working bibliography, we had to like cite the resources like in the form of APA or
Yeah,
MLA.
yeah, yeah. You
Okay,
should
okay.
you do something of that kind so that your reader. Well, basically, when you write the working bibliography, it is meant to be your final bibliography. Okay, so uh, if you're not really showing it to anybody, probably you don't have to be very particular about the citation style and formatting, right? But you should have all the citation information with you so that if you use that work in your final bibliography as well, you don't have to look up all the information once again.
Yes, sir. It's like our time will not be wasted. Plus, sir, I wanted to ask that
Yes,
you have mentioned that these will be our secondary resources, right? So when
yeah,
it comes to primary resources, like what will be those? वो कौन से resources होंगे?
that will be your primary. That is the literary text on which you are writing your paper.
Yes, sir. But how we will cite that? I'm not understanding this part.
So you will cite that when you write your paper, you will cite that by including a list of works cited. Okay, so when you write your paper as per MLA, you need to have a list of works cited at the end. Now, inside the paper itself, you in of course you include uh, information from your primary text as well as you include the information from your secondary resources. And in the list of works cited, you do not differentiate primary text from the secondary text. In the list of works cited, you just cite all the resources.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Sir,
without any
basically you are trying
distinction which
to say
one was
that,
primary and which one was
sir,
secondary.
so basically you're trying to say that which like हमने जहाँ से भी information ली है, we should cite that
Yeah,
either primary
eventually,
or
yeah,
secondary.
that is right. But you should know before. Yeah, so but yeah, but don't find the information randomly. Okay, move systematically. Okay, decide beforehand that these are the resources that you are going to use.
And those should be authentic enough.
Okay, yeah,
Mm.
they should be authentic enough. Okay, so five resources, for example, that if if you have found out five secondary resources today, you might not be able to use all of them, or you might have to find another one in addition to those five. That is fine. I mean, you have that much flexibility. But still,
Mm.
as the research process goes, you should know beforehand, before you start writing your paper, that these are going to be your secondary resources because they play a very important role in in the literature review that you are going to write.
Of course. Okay, sir. Got it.
Yeah, so while you collect your secondary resources, uh, you have so when we talk about research, that is the research. Okay, The research involves in looking for the relevant secondary resources, reviewing them, and deciding them which ones are going to be really useful for your paper. Okay, so keeping just those ones and then dropping the rest of them.
So don't you think 5 resources are less for literature review?
No, for you it is enough for this paper. 5 resources actually means 100 pages almost. So you have to be very cautious, in picking uh, the resources in terms of time management as well. Will you be able to read all those resources within a given time frame? That is what you have to think beforehand.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So the final paper is going to be 4,000 words, Shazib. Okay, so Rimsha has a question. Uh, if this at this stage when you are writing your bibliography, I haven't asked you to include your primary resources over here. Okay, but as you write your own papers for your own record, uh, probably you should know clearly which ones are your primary resources and which ones are your secondary resources. Okay. Uh, Now, for example, when you write your thesis, okay, so when you write your thesis, the first thing that your supervisor asks you is to submit a list of to submit the research proposal along with the list of resources. Over there, because this is a bigger document like 10,000 words, over there you provide uh, the list of primary resources as well as the secondary resources. Okay, of course, primary resources are far less in number. They might be just 2 or 3, depending upon the kind of research that you're conducting, while secondary resources would be many more. Okay. All right. So, okay, because I have this in front of me now, Faiza's bibliography, uh, I, I, I could just ask anybody to uh, share that in the chat box, their bibliography, just for the sake of discussion. But I have her, so I'll just use that one. So she has these works. First one is a research article. It is published in International Multidisciplinary Research Journal. Uh, well, let me just open this click on this link. see where it takes me. Okay. Okay. So for example, now if you look at this article, uh, oh, you don't have to share all of you. Only if I ask, because the problems that you're going to come across, they are going to be similar. Uh, so if can you see on your screen this article?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Yes,
this
sir.
is the resources that Faiza has shared. This is the first article over there. Okay. Now, this is about the concept of feminism in Henry Capson's A Doll's House. Okay, so this is one thing, the first thing that will kind of alert me whenever I look for resources. So it is M3 Research Scholar. Uh, okay, so so one of the criteria that we keep in mind while determining the authenticity of the resources is the credibility of the author. Okay, so being an MPhil student is not uh, you know to be credible enough uh, to have a published paper in a good article. I mean, it is a general rule. There definitely will be exception. Now, as a general rule, somebody who's an MPhil research scholar would not have that potential to produce a research paper of publishable quality. Okay, but this general rule is being reinforced by some other factors as well. One is the place where it is published. Okay, so the Criterion and International Journal in English, its name is fine, right? But just look around, who has published it, right? By that I mean, who has published it, we mean the publisher, right? Now the publisher over here is something Galaxy, right? Now I will tell you the names of authentic publishers right now, and I'm sure you will be immediately able to make a distinction. So for example, OUP. Can anybody tell me what is OUP? Yeah. Can anybody tell what is OUP?
Sir, Oxford University.
Yeah. So it is Oxford University Press, right? So most of the research journals across the world are published by the publishers connected with universities. Do you get my point? So most of the leading universities in the world, they have their own publishers, and research journals are published by them, right? So you won't recognize Galaxy to be any university, well-known university around the world. Second criteria is, other than okay, so part of this criteria is this: sometimes a publisher may not be connected with a university, yet it might have its own reputation. For example, Routledge. Okay, as you review some research, you will start getting to know about the major publishers: the Palgrave, Taylors and Francis. These are the known publishers. right? So this is looking at the publisher, that is an important indication. Okay, and you can always figure it out. Okay, even if there is an ISSN written over here, that does not really matters when you are looking at the it does not really matter when you're looking at the quality of the research article. Finally, sometimes from within the resource, you might see that things are a little fishy. Now, if you look at the way things have been cited over here, you know, uh, the style, you know, uh, so the resource of the uh, text, you know, the titles of the text over here, they they are not written according to any standard citation style. Okay, so the titles of the articles are written in inverted commas, but titles of the works, they have been written without any indication. Neither they are in italics nor they are in inverted commas. Okay, so if the title articles in inverted commas, the titles of the books, the Cambridge Companion to Ibsen, for example, it should be in italics. Okay, never ever two is written within upper T within a title. In other words, there are editing issues over here. There is always a single space after a period in English language. Okay, but I'm sure you can see this over here, right? Okay, so resources of this kind uh, should not be included. Okay, this is uh, you know this is one thing that I wanted to say. So this was about the first resource I saw here. Okay, so the second resource I have is, let me share it again. Uh, this is Balaki, Salman, Shah, Hassan, and Suleiman. Uh, maybe Nafsar, Abdul Musawwir. Feminist analysis of Henry Gibson's Doll's House, Baitul Hikmah, and International Journal of Philosophy. Okay, let's open this one too. Where does it take us? Okay, now both authors belong to a university. That is fine. Uh, so I'm looking for the publisher of this journal, which is called Baitul Hikmah. Okay, so this is College of Arts. No, this is not. This is not publisher. This is the writer. This is the writer who is associated with this university. So I'm still looking for the publisher. I can't find the publisher information over here. So I need to Google it. Okay. Now that is how we do it, right? So let's look up what this journal is about. It was founded in 2011. It has, okay, now this is the publisher. Now look at it. Mustafa Savik. Mustafa Savik. Okay. And you know what is problematic with it? As I see it, this seems to be name of an individual. Okay. Okay. So it seems to be name of an individual. Okay. So remember that never ever an authentic journal can be published by an individual. It has to be an organization, whether it is a whether it is an independent publisher like Routledge, Palgrave, or it is uh, a university-run publisher like Oxford University Press. Okay, so you might note over here it also says that the journal has not published since 2019. So it went out of publication in last 2 years. That also makes the journal a little fishy. So this is something like Degree Park Academic, which is the host of all this journal, and it might be other journals as well, right? But Dargi Park is not a publisher, right? This is web host only. All right. So these are the factors you should always check before you determine if you are going to include a work into the list of working bibliography. Okay. Uh, in the similar manner, you can have a look at other resources in your working bibliography as well. Okay. So therefore, the suggestion to you is that do not try to look for resources on Google, because Google will show you thousands of results, but then everything will be included in those results. So the best way to find the relevant resources is to find them from a university library website. Okay, even there you will find many random things. Okay, even there you will have to apply your discretion to decide which work is authentic and which is not. Okay, you can also use JSTOR, or you can also use Project Muse in order to look for the resources. Okay, any question about that?
No, sir.
Sir, I was trying to access that MLA International Bibliography
Yeah,
through FCC's library, but as you said that they might ask you something like a code or something. So I'm just
so
going to the university library
no,
to ask them if we can
no,
access it.
no, I don't think going to university will help you at all. You basically you need to have an account in order to access the bibliography. Okay,
Sir,
you just
besides
need to
that,
check. Just need to check.
जी
You
sir.
just need to check whether that account can be made without paid subscription. If you can create the account without paid subscription, just make it at home using your email ID. University cannot help. University library won't help you in that.
So besides that, I was noticing the university library has access to the e-content of
Yeah, yeah,
PSNs, I guess.
yeah,
I don't. So can we look out for the articles from that?
yeah,
Is
yeah.
it a
That is
website or
helpful.
library or?
Of course, that will be helpful. So sometimes you may not have access to the e-library uh, to which the university library gives you access. And in order to access that e-library, you need to be on campus. That I think is true.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so Shazeb has put some resources over here, and so I'm looking at the resources, Shazeb. So this, this publisher, um, Poon Research, that should, kind of, uh, that should alert you to something, which may not be totally authentic. Okay, so you need to check with that. Poon Research doesn't seem to be a known publisher. Okay, it is right in the citation of the first article that you have shared with me.
Okay, sir.
Okay, also the way they have written the title, that is a little problematic. Okay, so the second resource, it is again from the same resource, from where Faiza has, got this work. Is Galaxy International Journal, Multidisciplinary Research Journal. I don't think that is an authentic journal, okay, because there is no well-known publisher associated with that. Okay, so watch for that too. The second resource. The third resource is a book coming from University of Malakand, 42nd edition, and it is Feminist Analysis of Society and Unbound Practice of Linguistic Deposition of. So actually, this book won't help you. It will be a linguistic analysis, which you are not going to do here. So just watch for that. University of Malakand, so you need to check that too. Do they really have a publisher? I don't think so. I don't think University of Malakand has uh, has uh, has a printing press. Okay, you need to check with that as well. Okay, and the last resource is also from, or it's the same resource you have already cited, the last one. Okay, so that is why I said that usually you seem to have accessed lot many material, right? But when you review it carefully, you have to cut short many things, and then you come up with very limited number of resources which are really authentic as well as relevant. Okay, so Abira has shared a work over here. It seemed to be from University of Chicago, and I think it is just fine. A theory of scandal, Victorians, homosexuality, and the fall of Oscar Wilde. Okay, I'm only concerned about the relevance of this work that you have to decide for yourself. Read the abstract, it is given over here, and the abstract should kind of help you decide if the work will be helpful or not. But the University of Chicago Press is a huge press, and it is known worldwide, and they have lot many journals to their credit. Okay, so this should be just fine. Uh, I I think you people are not able to see that. Let me just share the screen again. Okay, can everybody see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the article that who has shared? Abira has shared, right? So I clicked open it. So another problem might be you might not have access to the whole article. I'm not sure. You might have. I don't know, but because it is locked, right? So you need to check with that too. Anyways, the whatever we can see over here, so it's published by University of Chicago Press, and University of Chicago has many journals to its list, and this one comes from this journal. It's called American Journal of Sociology, right? So all the information is over here, the journal number, and they also have given
Sir, I
their
think
matrix. So they have also given their citation matrix. That is where this article has been quoted and how many times. Okay, so I think that is just fine.
Okay, sir.
So
And sir,
here
it's
is
quite
an
relevant
article.
with my topic as well.
Yeah, but okay, so see if you can access it, okay? If
Yes,
you
I
can't
have read the
access it,
abstract.
let me know.
Okay, sir.
You can download it.
Sir, I have just read the abstract and
Come
found it
across it.
relevant.
Okay, right.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So try to access it. If you have any problem, let me know. Okay, now here is another article from Rimsha. I just try to open it. Okay. So this is from Jasto. So the database which hosts a particular journal or particular article, that itself is an indication of the quality of that work. Now, uh, so there is one thing publisher, and there is another thing which is called database. Database is not a publisher, but database is that online platform which has curated, reviewed, and collected, you know, uh, many articles. Okay, but this article that you found is also available there. So anything on JSTOR is usually authentic, and you people have access to JSTOR through FC College. Okay, now here is a journal article. It is called Review Feminism for the 21st Century, and it is journal NWSA. So the journal is published by Johns Hopkins University Press, which is one of the you know most respected publishing press in the world for publishing journals. It's really well known. Uh, okay, now the only thing that you will notice over here is, as far as this particular piece is concerned that you have shared with us right now, this basically will turn out to be a review of various works. Okay, so this particular issue of the journal, it just includes reviews of these works. All right, and some of these are really, important works in feminism, right? So decide for yourself if you really want to use a review. Okay, uh, so feminism for the 21st century, broadly speaking, and then under that, 1, 2, 3, 4, these 5 works have been reviewed, right? And the review starts from here, from 1990. It might be useful for you in the sense that it might give you a broader view of the developments in research in the field of feminism in 21st century. Okay, if that is really what you're looking for, it is useful. Okay, but as far as the reliability and authenticity of the work is concerned, there is no question about that. So this too is good, Rimsha, the second article. Uh, I can tell just from the citation. Okay, now this one, I'm sure you have seen that. Okay, you have seen that because it is placed in electronic thesis and dissertations, therefore this one is not a published work. Okay, this one is a thesis written by a student for MA or PhD or for whatever. Okay, so it's not that you cannot use it, you can, but if you have a published work, prefer that. But if you really feel that this work is really relevant and you do not find published works, sufficient number of published works, then you can use this one too. Okay, so keep it as the last preference. the thesis, the dissertation. Okay. So students, I hope from today's discussion, you are better able to prepare your list of list of secondary resources, and you might also have realized that it's not very simple, but once you know it, it becomes simple. Uh, and you also might have realized why it is important to have the list before you start writing your paper. Okay, you cannot just read a resource of 100 pages or 50 pages and 30 pages and then come to realization that this resource was not authentic. Okay, are you getting my point, right? So you need to apply the criteria before you start reading a book. Okay, as much as it is possible, right? So the publisher is possible. Is possible through the publisher, the authenticity of the publisher. You can decide beforehand from the authenticity of the database, and you can decide beforehand from the credibility of the author as well. That also is one of the criteria that we can use. So if there is a well-known figure in the field in which you are working, there is a well-known name, uh, for example, Edward Said or Spivak, or any of the writers on feminism. If there is a well-known name, you don't need to see anything else. Okay, but most of the resources in your secondary resources list, they may not be well known. So you have to look for the other information. Any questions?
Sir, I have, but it's not regarding the topic we have discussed today. I just
Yeah.
wanted to know that whether our people will inculcate annotated bibliography.
No, you don't need annotated bibliography.
Okay.
Not neither no now nor later.
Sir, because as far as I remember, the English 102 research paper, the sorry 102 course, WRCM2, we actually included annotated one as well.
Yeah, you
So
don't need it now.
okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because you will be reading the resources, anyway. That is not required now. Okay. So, students, I'm not going to uh, ask you to write the review, uh, the literature review by the next class, but I want you to not only have your 5 resources, uh, the final 5 resources with you, the secondary 5 resources, but also I want you to make sure that you review those 5 resources or you read those 5 resources by the next class.